Greetings students and welcome back to Black Belt Arcade. Now I know it's been a while since we did an Elden Ring build video, but this is the first one back. Let's get right into it, shall we? Now this is a build that I like to call the Verdant Golem. Now this build is basically the tankiest tank build I could possibly make with the brain that I have. So starting off with the equipment, we're going to be starting off with the weapon of choice here, which is going to be the new Black Steel Great Hammer from the DLC. This thing has very high holy damage when sacred infused, and we're going to be using it with the Prayerful Strike Ash of War, which is going to be huge for keeping our health up and making trading hits super easy. We're going to be rocking the Fingerprint Great Shield along with that for the increased guard boost, and also for the ability to use the No Skill Ash of War, which makes it so we can just use Prayerful Strike no problem, super easy. We're going to be using the Claw Mark Sacred Seal because this is more of a Strength Faith setup, and we're going to be pretty much only using that to give us Golden Vow and maybe Flame Grant Me Strength, right? Getting into the armor of choice, we're going to be using the entire Verdigris armor set. Mainly because this stuff has incredibly high defense in almost everything. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it is the highest defense overall in the entire game of any armor set. So we're going to be using that. Just going to be tanking as much as we can. And this armor set is from the new DLC as well. Going into the talismans, we're going to be rocking the Curved Sword Talisman, the Great Shield Talisman, the Shard of Alexander, and the Twin Head Turtle Talisman. Now, of these talismans, the Curved Sword Talisman is probably the least important. The reason why I use it here is because the Black Steel Great Hammer actually has a special guard counter effect, where if you guard counter, it does an AoE holy blast, kind of. However, again, you do not really need to do that. If you want to spec totally into defense, I would recommend either the Verdigris Discus Talisman from the new DLC, or I'd recommend the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. And then for your Flash of Wondrous Physic, I would highly recommend having the Laden Hard Tier and the Opaline Hard Tier. Getting into the stat distribution here, you're going to be rocking at least 60 Endurance. This is mainly an Endurance build, so definitely get your Endurance up as high as possible. And then make sure you have at least enough faith to cast Golden Vow, and strength preferably very high too. So this is more of a strength endurance build, really. The gameplay loop against most enemies is you block and you guard counter. That's pretty much the entire gameplay loop. If you are fighting a tougher enemy or like a boss or something like that, what I'd recommend doing is popping Golden Vow first, then maybe hit yourself up with the Flash of Wondrous Physic to give you the increased poise and increased defense, and then you're pretty much chilling, and then it's business as usual. So let's go ahead and just get into the weaknesses real quick of this build, right? So the weaknesses of this setup that I found was, number one is the fact that you're going to be at heavy load. Now, I know most people do not like being anywhere higher than a medium load on your equipment load, because then you're going to be fat rolling, which is not ideal most of the time. But I feel like with this build, heavy load isn't too bad because most of the time we're just going to be blocking literally everything anyway. So I think it's definitely usable, you know, if you're able to use it to its strength, which is to block everything. Sometimes attacks do get through the block. I don't really know how, to be honest. I may honestly just be bad. Weakness number two, you have almost no range. Now, I know, like, obviously this is a tank setup, but I mean, you have no range. You probably could do something with maybe like a great bow or something like that, but like that's kind of a more personal preference thing that would be like up to you. But yeah, like the Great Hammer that we're using here really doesn't have much range. Prayerful Strike doesn't have like any range. The enemy's got to be like right in front of you to hit them, right? But that's kind of the point of Prayerful Strike in this setup, you know, which is to trade a hit. Now let's finish off with the strengths of this build, right? So the strengths of this build is definitely, you are tough to kill. Now, that doesn't mean you can be super ballsy and crazy, though, at the same time. Because, I mean, as you can see in this clip, there was one point where I literally just thought my ego was as high as the moon with this setup, and I got double teamed and I died, right? It's definitely not a invincibility build, but it is still an incredibly good survivability build, right? And then the second strength that's not really a strength, and it's more of just a cool thing about the build, is it utilizes a lot of equipment from the new DLC, and it's also just a very interesting playstyle. you know, really just countering everything, being an absolute just taint on the battlefield, you know, it's pretty fun. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys did, please consider liking and subscribing. It'd really help out the channel. And don't forget also to comment down in the comment section. Let me know you guys' critiques of the build, what you guys liked about it, what you guys don't like about it, maybe ways to make it better, if there's anything I missed. I always love to hear you guys' input. And until next time, guys, peace out and stay safe.